Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome in. I know some people are still connecting to the audio, so you likely can't hear me yet, but we're going to wait a couple minutes here and just see how many other people join us today before we get started. So I hope that everyone is off to a fabulous Wednesday today. And while we're waiting for everybody to come in, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Brandy, and I am with the detail support team here today. And then we also have our associate Miranda is also on the call here, and our support team lead Cullen is also here as well. So as we're going through, if you guys have any questions during the talking points, feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat there, and Colin and Miranda will be manning that chat. And then, of course, we'll have some breaks in between the different sections that we're going over today, where you can, of course, chime in and ask any questions that you might have about each section. Thank you, Colin. All right, so we're going to give it just another minute here. Looks like we've still got some people coming in. All right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we can go ahead and get started here. Today, we are going over some of the newest features here in Details. Can everybody see my screen here and my mouse moving?
Yeah, you're good, Brandy.
Awesome. All right, so today we're going to be going over creating custom recipe categories. We're going to be going over our new and improved search and filters area here in the recipe gallery. We're going to be going over our brand new color selector that's going to be on the worksheet here. It's also going to be located in the item gallery. So pretty much anywhere that you see that color selector, it's been swapped out for the new version. And then we're going to go through all of those different features that we've added and some that we've updated there for that color palette. And then at the end, we'll go over some questions if anybody has any, and then we will get a sneak peek at a yet to be introduced feature at the end. So let's go ahead and start with custom recipe categories. So we had a lot of people that wanted the ability to kind of create their own custom categories here. You know, one size doesn't fit all for all businesses. And so we wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to categorize their items here in the recipe gallery the way that they would like. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and just click into a new recipe here. And what you can do when you're creating a recipe, so I'm just going to make this my test recipe. Of course, you'd fill out all of the information as you normally would when you're creating a recipe. But now you'll see that our category field here over at the right-hand side is no longer a drop-down menu. So what you can do now is you can start typing in any of the items that you want to see as a category here in your recipe gallery. For example, Flower Girl was not an option that we had in there, and it was one that was commonly used, of course, when you're doing weddings. So you've now got the option to add something like flower girls, hair pieces, short center pieces, tall center pieces, any category that you can really think of here in the recipe gallery. So once you've entered in your custom category here, anytime that you create a recipe from here on out, you'll see that you have what's called that autocomplete option here, which is something that we have also seen on the details page. We implemented that a little bit earlier this year, late last year. So anytime that you start typing in any of these categories that you've previously used, it's going to pop up with what's called that autocomplete, and you can just easily click on it and it will populate that information there for you. So let's go ahead and save this recipe. And once I have that recipe here, in order for it to show up on my categories list here on the left-hand side, I'm going to want to go ahead and refresh my page. So as the page is refreshing here, anytime that you add a new category, before it shows up there in that category section, you'll want to refresh that page just so everything can kind of update and reboot, if you will. So now if I search here in my category section, I'm going to see that Flower Girl option. And I can, of course, now easily click on that option to filter out all of the recipes here in my gallery. So we'll see that now my test recipe here shows up with that Flower Girl option. Does anybody have any questions on creating custom categories? No? All right. So then we're going to go ahead and move on to our search and filters area. So we did revamp this fairly recently to kind of mimic what we have already in the item gallery, but we added some additional functionality here for the recipe gallery as well. So to start off with, the first area that we come to is going to be that search by name area. So instead of just searching for a recipe name, you also have the option to search for recipes that include a specific item. So you can click on that drop-down menu, you can enter in that item name, say you want to see all recipes that include peonies. You can put in peonies and it will search through your recipes and find any recipes that contain peony. It can be a specific flower, so maybe you want to do blue peonies, white peonies, whatever that happens to be for you. And you can filter down that search. Of course, you also have the option to search by your categories here, which was already present, but now we have the option to search either for an item name, let's say rose, and also a recipe that's categorized as a bouquet. Or you can search for a recipe that includes a specific item or falls under the bouquets category. So we have that and/or logic here that allows you to get a lot more granular with your different searches and gives you a lot more options there as far as searchability. We also still have the same section here for the search by style, but it looks a little bit different. So again, you can just go through and select any one of these styles here. And again, using that and/or logic. If, for example, I don't put something in the category section, but I did put something in the search by name, it's going to skip right over this and/or logic here for that specific section and move directly on to the search by style. So it'll kind of just omit that from your search, if you will. Down at the bottom here, we also have the option still to search by color. Previously on the recipe search, we had our quick colors here to search by. So, you had your blue, red, pink, white, etc. But now we've added in the option to search by color from the palette. So you can, of course, click into this. You still have your quick colors here, but you can open up that color palette to select a more specific color here, either from the palette. You can search any one of these different sections here on our new color selector, which we will get to here in just a moment. You can also search by multiple colors. So for example, if I wanted to search by this teal color, but then I also wanted to search for pink as well, I can do that. And then we've also added the advanced color search. So you may have seen this on our item gallery search, but it is new here for the recipe gallery. And what this does, it gives you the option to search for colors that are either closer to, let's say, this pink and this specific color teal, or you can search a little bit farther out. Maybe I want things that are pink, but also maybe some things that are red, etc. And you can kind of get closer or farther away to that color match threshold. And if I go down a little bit further here, we also have the option to search by month. Both the search by color and the search by month options are actually being pulled from the items included in the recipes. So if you don't have all of your items with attached colors or attached months of availability, I highly recommend going through and doing so because the colors that are pulled in here and also the months of availability are being pulled from the items that make up those specific recipes. So if you haven't done that in your account, I highly recommend you do so. And if you have any questions on that, you can, of course, reach out to the support team at any point. And that concludes our search and filters area. Does anybody have questions on the and/or logic, the additional option to search by item name, or the addition of the various colors here? All right. I'm going to go ahead and move on then to our brand new color selector. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and head over to my worksheet. And then once my worksheet loads here, the color palette section here on the worksheet has not changed. So it's all going to look the same. It's going to function the same as far as the section itself goes. So any colors that you have on here that you want to remove, that trash can is still there. And you'll also see this plus symbol, which was there as well. So the differences really come in when we click on the plus symbol here to open up that color selector. So the main focus of changing the color selector here was actually, to begin with, of course, we want it to be mobile friendly. So a lot of the sections and details we're kind of revamping here to be more mobile friendly. Previously, anything that had to do with a drag and drop option, so that was going to be primarily here on the palette or also in the from image section, they weren't accessible from a mobile device. And this includes things like a tablet. So we wanted to, of course, change that. So that was our first focus. And then our second focus is actually that we're going to be able to allow your customers to select their colors for their wedding when they're filling out your intake forms. So we are going to go over that a little bit later. That's a feature that has not been released yet. But the main thing that we want to keep in mind here for now is that the main reason that it looks as different as it does is for that mobile functionality. So speaking of mobile functionality, like I said, previously we weren't allowed to do the whole drag and drop thing there on the mobile device. It just wasn't an option. So now you will be able to drag around the cursor just like you see here in the palette on your computer, but you'll also be able to click around and select the different, or tap as it were, to select your different colors. One of the things that we have seen a lot since we released this feature is the confusion between adding your colors. So before, what you would do is you would select your color, you would click done, and it would populate that singular color there. You'd go back into the palette and select your next color, and so on and so forth until you've completed your palette. But we do recognize that that was a little bit timely and that was taking a lot of effort to kind of go back and forth and back and forth. So to eliminate that, we decided that we were going to do an add to selection button. So what this will allow you to do is you can go ahead and, let's say I want to choose this blue. I'm going to add that to my selection. And then I want to build onto my selection again, and I want to choose, let's say, this yellow. I want to add that to my selection. And your selection is going to continuously build and build and build as you go through and select more items, or more colors, excuse me. You also still have the option here to add those colors to your favorites. And we have also added the option to add it to a collection. We will go over collections here in just a little bit when we get to that tab. But the palette itself is going to be pretty much the same as far as dragging and dropping around to select your color and hue. But we've also added an opacity bar here at the bottom, which will allow you to add transparent colors onto your event. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next tab here. So navigation here on the color selector is going to be done all through this more drop-down menu. So we're going to click the more drop-down and go into our input tab. So we did have an input tab on our previous color selector, and this area works almost exactly the same. There are a few differences. If I want to put in blush, for example, I can go ahead and do that. Auto detect is actually going to figure out what type of code you're putting into this field here, whether that be a hex code, RGB, Pantone, etc. And you can go ahead and put in, for example, this is a Pantone code. It's going to be blush. And you'll see that that populated my blush color here at the top. And I can again go ahead and add that to my selection. The differences here on this page is actually going to be with this alpha field. So earlier on the palette, we talked about transparent colors, and this is where you're going to be able to do that. So for example, if I wanted the opacity to be about half the opacity of normal, I can go ahead and put in 0.5, and you'll see that now my color is transparent. You will be able to see transparent colors based on the different squares here, and that's how you'll know it's a transparent color. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next tab here, which is going to be the From Image tab. So updates here on the From Image tab, the first noticeable updates are going to be that we now have predominant colors listed out here on the left-hand side. So these are going to be the primary colors throughout the entire image itself. The colors here at the top are going to be the prominent colors within the individual square here, which is going to be our zoomed in area of the photo. We got a lot of people that wanted to zoom in a photo when you're selecting from image. It just makes it a lot easier. So we've added that functionality here. And of course, I can drag and drop this around to find an exact color, or I can also choose from any of the prominent colors here on the left or on the right, or excuse me, at the top. Same process as before. You're going to choose an image here, upload that. It's going to appear here in the bottom square, just like our placeholder image does. And you can, of course, drag and drop the square around to any area of the photo that you'd like. Again, that add to selection, add to favorites, and add to collection options are all visible here as well. All right, so then next we're going to go over to our suggestions tab. Again, this is something that was already in the system as well. You can see all of your complementary colors, triadic, so on and so forth down the line. A couple of key differences here though. So if I say this complementary color palette, I really like all of these colors and I want to put those all into my palette. I can go ahead and click on the drop-down menu and I can select all to add them all to my selection. You also see that you have the option to either create a collection of these colors, or you can add all of these colors to your favorites at once as well. So a lot of great options there, a lot of time-saving options there, which brings me kind of to my next thing. Our favorites here is going to be where all of your favorite colors are going to live. This is going to be exactly the same as your favorites before. It's going to just list out all of your favorite colors here. You can also add all of your favorite colors to a collection, or you can select all or remove all as well if you would prefer. If you wanted to select any one of your favorite colors here, you would easily just click on the color and then add to selection. All right, so this is probably my favorite part, and I think it's going to be the favorite part of a lot of people. You can create collections here within the color selector. So for example, if I wanted to create a fall color collection, a winter color collection, maybe a blush color collection, a color collection for a specific event. If you're, let's say, made a collection of past events and you want to save a collection of that color palette that you used for that event, you can do that as well. So the way that we make a collection here is we'll select a color from any one of the tabs that we were just in, and we'll click on Add to Collection. You have the option to create a new collection, or you can add it to your Quick Colors collection, which we'll go over in just a minute. So if I create a new collection here, you'll see that it's started that collection here for me. I can click in and rename this whatever I would like. So maybe this is going to be my red collection. And I just have various different shades and tints of red. For the quick colors, so you now have the option to switch out your quick colors. So before we had just a section of quick colors, and they were the quick colors that came in everybody's account, and there was no way to change them. So now we've added the option where anytime that you have a collection and you rename that collection Quick Colors, it could even be, let's say, Fall Quick Colors or Blush Quick Colors, whatever that happens to be, as long as it has the word Quick Colors in it, it's going to add that to your Quick Colors. So for example, this is what I have here in my Quick Colors options. To get to my Quick Colors, I have a couple of different options. So the first one is I can click on that More drop down and go right to my Quick Colors here. Or I can click the little rabbit here in the bottom left-hand corner to navigate directly over to my Quick Colors collection. So the next part is going to be our history section. So this is going to show the last 60 colors that you looked at. So if you want to go back and see anything that you previously searched for, maybe you decided that you did want this teal color, you can come back here and grab that color really quickly and then add that over to your selection. And then next we have our selections tab. So as you're going through, and like I said, you can pick out multiple colors at once without having to close the box and come back in. Here, you're going to have your selection of colors. So every time I clicked add to selection, it's added it here in my selection tab. Once I click done out of this color selector, all of these colors are going to automatically populate there in my color palette. So for example, if I click on done, you'll see that now all of those colors have populated there. If I go back in here and I go back to my selection, this is not going to change at all. So I'm just going to continue building and building and building. If you wanted to remove any one of these colors from your selection, you can click on the individual color and click remove from selection. Or you can also choose the drop-down menu here to remove all. And again, if you wanted to make a collection of these colors here, or if you wanted to favorite all of these colors all at once, you can easily click that drop-down menu and click either create collection or favorite all. So does anybody have any questions on our new color palette here, how it works, any individual features, updates, etc.? All right. Cullen or Miranda, did you guys have anything that you wanted to add here?
No, I think you covered everything.
Beautiful. Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, I want to open for any questions about anything that we've covered today, whether it be the recipe gallery, recipe search, color palette, or how it pertains to details. Just wait another minute here. All right. Beautiful. Deb, let's see. She mentioned a client intake form. Is that something that already exists? No, Deb. So this is actually what we're going to be going over. This is our special sneak peek here in just a moment. We have not released that feature yet. It is in our testing environment right now. So I don't have a prospective completion date, but we wanted to give everybody kind of a sneak peek of what that's going to look like and all of the options that you're going to have included there. Great question. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions before we move on to our sneak peek section? All right. In that case, let's go ahead and move over. I'm actually going to move over to a different account here, and we will see our new form builder. So while I am moving around to the other account here, I did want to let everybody know that this is just a sneak peek. Like I said, it is still in our testing environment, so we will be sure to let everybody know about all of the individual features and functions and really break it down once we get this pushed out to everyone. So for now, this is just going to be a sneak peek. To start off with here, whenever the form builder comes out, you're going to have a navigation menu here that says form list, similar to how you see on your event list. And you'll just go ahead and click that button to go directly into your forms list. So here in our account, we do have some intake forms that we have created, or outtake forms, depending on what it's for. You will have the option to purchase additional templates in our marketplace once this comes about. And we're not exactly sure how many forms you'll have to start with, but we'll be sure to release that information as soon as we finish up testing. But for now, let's go ahead and just learn a little bit about our forms. So your form list here is going to house all of the forms that you've created. So any form that you've created will live right here on this list, and you'll be able to see if it's still active, if it's going to close, anything like that. If you're allowing multiple submissions, if you want it to create an event, and if you allow edits here as well. You'll also see this responses list here. And anytime a client fills out the form, it's going to live here in the responses. It's going to list out anything that they answered there on the form. And then it's going to state whether those responses are going to be mapped into an event in details. So for example, if I wanted to create a new form, I would go in and click the create new form here. You can give your form a name, decide if you want that to be active yet or not. And then you can decide if you want it to create an event. So when your client goes to fill out this form, there are going to be different fields, which we will get to in a moment, that will allow you to map those that information into certain fields and details. So for example, if the client fills out their client name, it's going to populate into the client name field in details. Under our advanced tab here, you have the option to allow for multiple submissions. So this would be multiple submissions from one person. You can set an open and close date. You can create the event name using tokens, which are going to be similar to our contract term tokens. If you're not familiar with our contract term tokens, I highly recommend going to go check that out. And you can locate the article on that from the contract terms page of the company settings. And it's going to be a button in the upper right-hand corner that says personalize, just to get yourself more familiar with how those tokens work before this feature makes it to production. And then you'll also have the option to put in a form URL slug. For those of you that are not familiar with slugs, it's just going to be some information that is added onto the URL itself at the end. So maybe the slug could be intake form. So it would say whatever your URL is. So it could be brandy.details/intake form. So we are going to have the option for you to choose your subdomains. And once that goes out, we'll send out like a form for everybody to fill out and select their names. There are some specified domain names, and then you'll be able to select the subdomain as, let's say, your business name or a cute pun, whatever you happen to want it to be. It'll be a vanity URL. So to take a look, let's go ahead and just go into our general intake form here. And once this page loads here, we are going to see our general intake form. So this is a very plain version of what you can create. You can add backgrounds, you can change the colors of your different items here, you can change the fonts. So all of these are going to be options that you'll be able to set here and really customize to you and your company. You can put your own logo here at the top. You'll be able to name your forms accordingly, however you would like. And you can put any one of the different fields that you have as options. So if I go down here to the bottom here and click on the add new element, you'll see that we have a variety of different options here for you to choose from. Each one of these different fields has a variety of options as far as mapping, setting colors, styles, etc. And if you have chosen the option to create an event from this form, if I go into any one of these fields, let's say right here, this is an input box field, and you'll be able to set the value as, which is where that mapping comes in. So in this example, it's a first name field, so it's going to populate into that contact first name. But as you can see, there's a variety of different fields that things can be mapped into, and each element has a different set of options there as far as what fields it can be mapped into. You'll also have the option to set form defaults. So if you have, let's say, a specific font style that you want or color that you want, you can set that there. You can actually make templates of these forms. So if you wanted to create a template and then load this template into a new form, you could certainly do that as well. Just like on the worksheet here, you're going to be able to save versions, so you can go back and forth between versions as well. So yeah, thank you, Linda. This will be recorded and we will be sending this out afterwards so that you can rewatch this as many times as you would like and get that info that you missed. We appreciate you joining us. So once you're done with your form here, you also have the option to preview your form. So when you preview the form, you can preview the form as if you were sitting at a computer, but you also have the option to view it as if you were, let's say, a client on your phone or on a tablet by clicking on the buttons here in the upper left-hand corner to switch out your different views. And then, of course, this is exactly how your client is going to see it. As creatives, I imagine that you'll put some fancy backgrounds and fun fonts and colors and things on there and really make it your own. And we're excited to see what you guys do with it. But anything that you put on that form there in the form builder is going to show up here in the preview exactly how your client would see it. In addition to creating your form, you also have the option to add additional pages here. So if you wanted your form to be multiple pages, you could do that as well. And then each form is going to come with a thank you page that's going to show up once your client has submitted the form, and you can customize that as well. So you can add your own thank you heading, thank you verbiage, backgrounds, etc. And that is going to be our sneak peek for now. Like I said, we are going to do some more information on this once it's released out to our production server for everyone to use. We're probably going to do a tips and tricks webinar just like we're doing now. And we're going to go over individual elements, all of the options available for each element, how to add photos, how to update things, make templates, save versions, etc. So we're really excited about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this sneak peek, and just keep an eye out for more information. And this concludes our, Merlin. Is there a proposed date of when this feature will come out? We don't have a proposed date right now. We are shooting for the end of next month, but of course, just like anything else, things could come up as we go through our testing phase, and that date may be pushed out. So I don't want to give anybody hopes that this will be out for a prospective date, because we don't have one right now. Thank you for your question, Merlin. Yeah, same. We are also super excited about it. Thank you very much. And yeah, we just look forward to sharing all of this with you guys and having everybody have the option to create these forms and details. And I did want to mention that these forms are not only going to be intake forms. You can create those follow-up surveys. You can create different templates for, let's say, a wedding versus corporate versus funeral, etc. So we're really excited about it, and it's just going to be very customizable, if you will. So. All right, well, this concludes our course for today. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them there in the chat. We're going to stay until everybody leaves the room, but we also will be following up with an email. It's going to have the replay here for this. And it's also going to have a follow-up survey. So I would greatly appreciate if you would take that survey there at the end. It's going to be included in that email. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brandy. Thanks everybody for joining us.
All right, bye, everybody.